Hello, welcome. My name is Manuel from Kata Studios. Today we're going to learn how to design a standard business card for your clients and get it ready for print. This lesson is for beginners and intermediates. And mind you, we'll be doing a little bit of calculation before we proceed in this lesson. So don't be scared of that. I'm going to teach you how to convert all millimeter, centimeter to pixels, which is going to be best practice for this particular lesson. Then I divided this lesson into different categories so it becomes easier for us to do things. You remember, I like being organized in my work. So let's get right into it. First, we are going to learn the best practice for sizing, for business card sizing. This include the bleeding and all of the things that I'll be needing in that particular level. We'll be preparing the contact detail for the client. So already, before you start making a design, you already know that you should have the information that the client owns so that you don't start scrambling. So these are the informations you need, and we are going to be explaining this when we get to that level. The next, we are getting ready the logo. If the client don't have a logo, make sure you prepare the logo before you start jumping into designing a business card. The next, we're going to be creating our business card canvas. The first a screen or the first artboard and the second artboard. The first will be the front and the second artboard will be the back of the card. This one practically is the front and this is the back of the card. Now we'll be getting into designing and we'll be making the print for export. We're going to make this design and also prepare it and get it ready for printing. I'm going to show you the format that is best practice for printing, the best practice export for printing. And finally, we are going to be making a mock-up for the card we designed so we can present on our social media. And at the end of this class, I'll be sharing you guys a link to one of my best mock-up to actually download and reuse this business card mock-up. In case you want to send or present your business card work to your client, that particular mock-up kills the whole thing. It makes it more smooth. It makes it more enticing. It makes it, you understand what mock-up do already. I don't need to start explaining all of that. So without wasting much of our time, let's get into work. Okay. So the first thing I need to explain exactly what is going on here. So this one over here is the standard business card size, and we have it at 85 millimeter by 55 millimeter. 55 being the height and 85 being the width. Now, when we get over to this one, this is the standard business card with bleed. With bleed means the extra bleeding means the extra space you give so that when the printers finish printing the product, they can cut it to that particular size. Okay, you don't just print a card and just export it like that. When you print a card, you have to cut it so that it can match the standard card size, which is this standard size we have. Now you might be asking, why not we design this particular standard size so that they don't need to stress themselves cutting the card? Now look at the trick behind this. If you design a standard card, you might place an element where the printing itself might overlap. Now, I have had many cases in my previous printing sessions where after designing my work and the print, when the printer tries to cut it, it cuts and gets into my information. I'm also going to teach you guys how to avoid that, staying in the safe zone. So for the best practice, the printers actually came up with this idea of bleed. Bleeding means no matter what you do, your details must not touch the bleeding area, no matter what you do. Okay, so all information will stay within the area which is called the safe zone. Then the bleed area and also the safe zone pixel area will also be empty. Nothing should touch those parts. We are going to talk about that in a little while. Okay, as you can see from what we have from here, this particular size is not what we are used to. If we get into Photoshop and start using 85 millimeter, it might be too large than what we expect. It might also be too smaller than what we expect. So this size is best practice for vector-based tools like Illustrator, not Photoshop. But for the fact we are using Photoshop, we are going to be converting this size to make more sense for us. Okay, so now let's get into work. So let's create a layout. But before we create a layout, let's first of all calculate this size and understand what best work for this. Okay, so since we have 91 millimeter from here and we have 61 millimeter, we're gonna get out and pick up our calculator. Let's get our calculator. So as we get our calculator from here, we see we have 91 millimeter. We are gonna say 91 times 5 equals to 455. And now this 455, we are going to write it down in a sheet of paper. I have my paper right here. If you have your own, write it down. So we are going to be needing it in a little while. Now we have gotten the width of the full card size. Remember, this is the full card size. This is not the safe zoom we are talking about. Now we're going to calculate 61 times 5. You do not calculate 91 times 5 and then calculate 61 times 10. So we're going to do 61 times 5 too. 61 times 5 equals 305. Okay, 305. Now let's get in and use the sizes which we have actually converted. So the first, which is the width, we got 455. Let's create a new artboard. To create a new artboard, Control and N in your keyboard. Then from here, we have all the sizes that we need from here. If you want to go with millimeter, we can pick on this. And remember the problem I talked about. You might pick a millimeter after doing your design will be blurry. So let's stick with pixels and let's convert the size to pixel, which is the reason why we opened our calculator. So now the width, we have it at 455. Converting this to pixels, if you type 455, the size will be too small and the design will be blurry. So what do we do from here? We're going to convert this to 4,550, not 55. This is the size as we get from 455. Just add a 0 at the end. The same applies to the height. We are going to say 3050. Since we have 305 as a size, we give it a 3050 from here. Make sure everything is at the horizontal at both sides. Let me zoom closely so you can see clearly. So make sure this is at the horizontal and make sure this at pixel. So once we are done with that, we click on create. We have our artboard. So this is the first artboard. We're going to create the second one. Remember, we are creating two, so we don't need to type this again unless you find out that the size you created earlier is not populating in this next new artboard. So we create it again. So we have the first artboard and we have the second artboard from here. Very good. So we are done with that, which is the first basic things. Now let me teach you guys about the bleeding they are talking about. Now to get a bleeding, we need to get our ruler sizing. Let's go to view. We go to guides, then we scroll down to new guide. So when we create a new guide, we OK it. See this new guide we have from here. We can pull it down to this part. Then we go to view again. We create a new guide. This is not mandatory. I'm just trying to show you something, okay? I'm just trying to show you something very quickly. You can make this vertical, this one vertical, while the other one is horizontal. Make this vertical. Then we drag it to this part. Okay? Then let's create another one. Let's do this very quickly. Okay? Now look very closely. While you are measuring, you see the sizing. You see you are having a particular size from over there in pixels. Okay? So now we are going to talk about that in a little while. Then we are going to create one final guide, which is new guide. We are going to do this horizontal. Okay. Then we pull this one down. Okay. So now we have our guide. This area are the bleed. Listen and listen very carefully, beginners. This mustn't be perfect. The bleed sizes must not be perfect. It's not like this one must be okay. Now let's do something. Let me show you clearly. Let me show you something very quickly. As you can see, the bleed size we have from here, what bleed size we have is 3 mm safe zone and 3 mm bleed. So we're going to calculate 3 times 5. You got it. So we got here 15. So this 15 in the safe zone should be 15 pixels. Not 15 pixels actually, 150 pixels, because we are multiplying it by what it is. Okay. So since we got that particular size, we are giving it at 150 pixels against 4,000 something that we have from here. So this is enough for the bleeding as we have. Now, if the bleed size is 150 pixels, the safe zone size is also 150 pixels. Bleed size will be something like this. You see the size we have from there? The first one. Okay, you see the two lines there. The first one is the 150 pixels. And when we have it at this point, it's now 300 pixels. So we're going to make this 300 pixels all around. But do you know that all of these things doesn't matter? we don't even need all of these things. If you just follow the guide, but I'm going to leave this while we build. We are going to still build with this other one as empty, but we're going to leave this as we build, so that I'm going to teach you exactly how this works. Okay? I don't need bleeding to work with. I'm going to show you a very simple trick. So now we are done with that. We are going to go to prepare the contact detail. Since we have the contact detail already, as we can see from here, I have my contact detail from my clients. I have the name, I have the email address, I have the phone number, I have the website's address. Okay, these are very important information. So first and foremost, we are picking on the name. So we copy the name and we're going to fill it in here. So we click and we add a new text element. Now we're going to fill in the name from here and we select everything. Then we change our font popularly to Poppins. Fine. So now we have our font as Poppins. We can possibly select whatever font style we want. It mustn't be Poppins. Whatever font style is okay for you, you can choose that. Now, this particular one we have here, we need an icon that is going to, this is the reason why some business cards stands out and some don't. We need an icon that is going to actually visually tell what this is about. So we need a person icon right before the name. So to get a person icon, let's get in and sort that out. So here are all icons you'll be needing. I'll be making provision for this link for you guys. So we're going to use the person icon. In case you don't find the icon which you want to use, you can search for whatever icon you want from here. So we want a person icon, then we hit on enter. You're going to see multiple variants of person icon which you want to use. You can select whatever one you want. Then you can click to download as PNG or SVG. So we download as PNG and we save to our desktop. That's our first icon. So we're going to use that right away. So we drag it into Photoshop and we place it in there. Reduce the size a little and we pull it to this edge. So this person icon is going to have a different color. We are not going to have the same color for the person icon. So we're going to select this and we're going to switch it to a color that matches the brand. Okay, so this is a Tintel brand. This is actually a seafood brand. I'm going to show you the logo actually. This is the logo we'll be using for this. So we're going to make sure everything stays on brand and stays simple as so. So we have that as the name. We're going to have a title beneath the name. Though we didn't provide that in the contact detail, but let's do that very quickly. We can just duplicate this if we want to and give it a title here. We can call her CEO Manager. Okay, the font is too bogus. We have to reduce it a little more. Okay, let's go back to Poppins. And we have to reduce the size now. Fine. So make sure it doesn't start from the name, the person icon. It should start from the name. Okay, very importantly, start from the name. That's number one. Number two, the color shouldn't be black because it will be competing with the main name color. We don't want that. So select on the text again. We're going to reduce this color vibrance to a little bit of gray, something like this. Okay, let's increase the size a little. Fine, we are good to go. So you see the bleeding, how we separate this bleeding from this part. We have a lot of space from there. Push it a little bit closer to the name, just a little bit. Then we go to the next one, which is the address. We didn't add an address from here. Let's see what we can do for that one. Let's just create a dummy address. Just create a random address. So we click on Control. Let's try to copy this and we are going to reuse this. Okay. So you see the space we are going to be giving to this a little more distance from this other one. So this is hierarchy to show that this is a different entity or different information totally. And these ones are different information as we can see. So from here, the first one is the address. Let's just give a random address. Now that's capital letter all through. That's not supposed to be so. Street. Okay. Uyo. Fine. And that's the first, but we are not going to leave this text at the same font size as this. That's still poor hierarchy usage. So what we're going to do from there is that we are going to increase the font size a little. Let's use this too much. This still too much. What about this? I think this is okay too. Let's use this. This okay. So fine. So we have the name of the address. We have the address right away. We are going to also duplicate this because we want to create the next element, which is the email address. So let's copy that. We are going to be coming to the icons because remember, we are going to use icons for this. So we created the email address. You see how easy this is because we have created those informations already. We have prepared those informations already. We don't need to stress ourselves anymore. Then we create a phone number. We add a phone number. Then we add the website address. Copy and we duplicate this. The reason why I'm duplicating the text is not like we can't space and give a paragraph and do no. I like duplicating so I can have full control over each and every one of these. Their heights, I can decide to give a particular one a specific height and the other a specific height. So we are good to go with this one. I think it is 2 distance from each other. Now, why we give distance from this element is because of the icons. When the icon starts coming in place, you understand the reason why we give a little bit of distance to this element. So first of all, let's get the location icon. We get back to our icon element. We search for location icon and we hit on enter. So we see multiple location icons. Depend on the one you are looking at. Whichever one intrigues you the most, you can use. I just practically love all of them, but let's just pick one from here that makes a little more sense. I think this is okay. Let's use this one. Okay, so we got the location icon. We are going to download another icon, which is the message icon, which is going to stand for the email. Now, we can search for email icon, but most email icons are a little bit outdated, so we're not going to be using that. So this message icon can also stand in place for the email. You get the point? So we can use any of these ones as we see from here. Any of these can make for what we want. I don't know. I don't even know which one to pick. All of them looks very cute. So which one are we going to use now? Okay, let's use this one. So download the SVG. The next we are going to use download a phone number. Okay, so we call this phone, not phone number. To search for, you call it phone. You're not going to say phone number. You're going to just say phone. So I love this one so well. This is my favorite. So we download this icon. And finally, we are going to download a web. Okay, so type in web. You're going to see multiple web version or web icons that we can use in place of this. So let's just go with this. You're gonna go with ones that the stroke are not too tiny. As you can see, this stroke of this one is not too tiny. If we went with this one, it's not going to match with the other icons as we have. It's not going to match with other icons as we have, and that's not what we want. So now let's start implementing our icons. So we are done with this information. We can close this down and we can focus on our icon. Drag in the first one. You can drag in all icons at the same time. Let me show you what to do. You can select all icons and drag all of them in at the same time, so we can resize all of them at the same time. So when you drag them in, hit on enter, the next one will appear, hit on enter, the next one will appear, hit on enter, the next one will appear, hit on enter. As you can see, we are having a little tiny problem. This one is too tiny, so we can just increase it a little. So now let's select the 3 of these, which are the same equal size, and reduce all 3 to the same size. Okay, so let's zoom closely a little. And the phone number, we are going to place it where the phone is. Now, watch very clearly. We want to make sure that this and this are in the same line. You see, we have to select the both of them. See that this one is having a little bit of space from here. So what you're going to do is you adjust this a little and we select the both of them again. They are perfectly aligned now. So very importantly, your business card design, alignment is crucial. Very, very crucial. Because if you don't align your elements, it looks so wacky. Information will be here and there, stuffs will be here and there, and that's not what we want. Though I'll be bringing a new course next year about alignment, teach you guys how to align elements for your business card, for your flyer designs, and rest of the things. The next one we are going to go, let's increase these things a little more so that they can match with the icon we have from here. Now also note that the size of the person we have here is not equal to the size of the element we have here. That is very, very intentional. Okay, you're not going to use the same size of icon from here for this one. Reduce this one a little, but make sure they are aligned equally. Now the location, we are going to place that where it ought to be. Fine. Now the email, and we get into the web. Okay, fine. So we are good to go with our elements. Now it's time to start coloring our elements. You don't just leave it as black and white. Now you're going to choose colors that are going to match perfectly well for location. Locations are usually red color, but you can make it a little bit of dark red so it won't be too bloody. I don't even know why I said that. Now the next one is the messaging. Email usually kind of red, but we can use a little bit of purple. Let's see to that. I think that will make much sense. A little darker purple. Fine. This is cool. Then the next one is the phone number. Usually phone number is green, so we don't need to be told about that. So we go with the same color we have from there. And we have the web color, which is usually black. But let's make it a little bit of gray, so it won't compete with the text we have in the background. Fine. So we are good with these informations. So we created the name. Let's increase this a little more. Okay. And increase the size of this person icon a little more. Okay. So now we have the basic information we have from here. We can now select on this and say, okay, we don't want the size like so. Let's increase the size a little more. And the size is increased, but there is too much of space around. So now let's tweak it a little. We select on this one, the both of them, we pull it down a little. Select on this one, pull it down, but make sure it's still the same space we have from here. I can measure if you want to measure, but for me, I know what is going on, so I don't need too much of stress. So we select on this one, we pull it down a little more, just give that space, and we are good to go, almost good to go, except for the fact that this icon looks a little smaller. Now, this is very important. Some icons might be equal with the rest of the icon, but they might look smaller. Why? Because those icon style actually have more of cutting edges. There are edges that have more parts that are removed that the other parts don't have. For instance, as you can see this location icon, it looks like a circle, but this part is lost and this part is lost. But this particular one is a square, all parts are present. And this one almost a square, all parts are present. This one is circle, perfect circle that doesn't have any square squished. So we just need to increase this one a little so I can match with this one. Let your eyes work. Don't deal with sizing and spacing. Everything must not be perfect as it's supposed to be as the PC or as your measurement size wants it to be. No, use your IQ, use your sight to understand what exactly works best for you. So now we are done with that. Remember, we are designing the back cover. We have not come to the front cover. We are still in the back cover. So now we are done with that. We need to get in and pick our logo. You can start with the front cover if you want to. Okay. Now we pick our logo and we drop it in here. We increase the size of our logo, and we don't want all parts of our logo to be showing. So we just want some part of it to show. Then we can rotate it a little like this. You get the drill. That's very simple. And make sure that all parts you want to show are within the bleed area. Like for this part, we want the part of the leaf, most part of the leaf to show. So we want to make sure it applies to the bleed area. Okay? So that's why the bleeding is necessary. Now, you must not need those bleed. Like I said earlier in this particular lesson, it's not must that you need this bleeding area to work with. It's not must. You can remove all these things, but make sure your design starts from this end. See where I start my own? Just give it enough space. That is it. Give it enough space. Forget about the rest of the grammar, rest of the technicalities. Just give it enough space and start your design. If you have the time, do your bleeding, do your sizing from so. Just give it a little bit of sizing, then space your element and start doing your design. We are done with the first page. Let's get to the next page, which is the front page. This is the page we are supposed to design first. So we are going to drag in our logo into this part. But now, since the back page is white in color, we don't need, now look, this part we are not going to use the bleeding measurement, which is the ruler element. We're just going to work on this so that I'll still show you why the bleeding is not very necessary. Now you see that we have the logo from here. We make sure everything is centered. But since the back cover is white, we don't need to keep the front cover white. We can leave the front cover as black. After this lesson, I'm going to make a video and show you this business card and the print for the one I did for the client. So you're going to see how it looks, and for the black and white, why those particular options are very necessary. Why it's not necessary for you to make the same color background for the front and the same color background for the back. So we're going to select on this and change the background color to black, just deep black, and we are good to go with the basic. Now there is something I call the aesthetics. Now let's get back to this business card. As you can see from here, we have some kind of brushes, paint brush around here. This paint brush applies to the logo. It's part of the logo icon, and we use it around here. Now, if you watch, we didn't use the logo for the back like we did in the other one. Why? Because if we use the logo here, it's going to be too much of information. There is already too many information here as the client wants it to be. Shouldn't be adding phone number to a logo. Okay? Don't mind what I did there. The client insisted it should be like this. So now, if we pick this logo and drop it at the back here, it's going to mess up the whole work. Just imagine we have information here and we are still having information inside of the logo. Imagine what's going to happen there. So we just have to pick the aesthetics, which is part of the element. This is what the ladies sell. So we're going to go and download some icons or some images relating to that and use it as a back. So if your logo looks a little more complicated, you must not use it for the back of your card. No, you use a part of that element that actually reflects what the brand is about. I hope you get that point very clearly. And we're going to touch a little bit of aesthetics here. So since we plug in the logo here, we are going to let's pick this particular element. Let's use this particular element. So we drag this element and we plug it in here. Increase the size a little and we rotate it like so. Remember the bleeding area. So make sure you put this thing in so that it can also work very well no matter what bleeding we have. Then we're going to duplicate this one and we are going to rotate it like this and we're going to place this one over here. Okay, now the logo is becoming too much, so we're going to reduce the size of the logo a little and place it at the center. So the bleeding, as we can see, the bleeding could be from here to here, so we don't mind. We have exactly or close to exactly what we are looking at. So pull it out a little more and we are good to go. Since this one is too large, we can make this one very large like this. And this second one, we can make it a little smaller so that the both of them won't be competing with each other. So make it very obvious that it is small. Okay, why we want to make it small is because we already have something like that from over here. So since we have something like that from over here, it's not nice making this one large to be a little more distracting. So we are done with that. So let's head into the next level. So we are done with the best practice of sizing. We have prepared our contact details and we have used that. We have made ready our logo. We have created our card canvas. We have done the design. Now let's do the prints ready for exports. How do you export this file since you are ready now for printing? Our card is ready. We can print our card. So to export it, hit on Control Alternative and save. We're going to export this not as PNG, but as PDF. So we're going to call this front, usually the name I give it. Then we save this as desktop. Okay. And we just save everything. Yes. And we head into the next one while we allow this one to save. As you can see from here, allow it to save first. Fine, it's saved. Then we get to the next one. We do the same thing from here. Control, save. Don't mind the bleeding lines. They will not go with it. Then we save this as PDF and we call this back. And make sure you save at desktop so that you won't start looking for your files. So we save the file and we click on yes. Allow it to save and we are good to go. So now all you need to do is to select these two files and export it to the client. This is the best practice for export. Let me teach you guys this at once. As you can see, this is my home page, my drive, where I export my file. I have an area called the export corner. The export corner, what I do here is all my clients' files are being exported here. If you want to export new card, like for instance, this new card, I click create a new folder. You can get this from Google Drive. Just log into Google Drive. As long as you have an email with Google, they will give you 15 gigabytes of free data storage. So this is where I export my files to my clients. So in case in the future the clients misplace the link, they can also ask for the link. You come in here, click right click option and click on share, then copy the link from here. But best practice, click on share. When you click on share, you're going to see this option. Click on this and make sure it is on anyone with the link so that you won't go on giving permissions and all of that. Then you copy the link from here and you share. And by the way, sharing you guys the mockup, this is still the same procedure I'm going to use. So what you need to do is to copy the file, these two files, and drop it in that link and drop it in that one of the folder you create. Send the single folder link to your client. That's the folder they are going to send to their printers, because in most cases you might send this file to a client and client save it as image or screenshot it and send to the printers. So some clients are funny like that. I've met a lot of clients. So we're going to do export it as the link file and tell them to send the link file to the printers. Then the printers can easily download it and do the rest of their job from there. So we are done with the printing, we are done with the design, we are done with the sizing, you understand all of that. Let's get into making a mockup. So I also prepare my mockup. Let's search for business card. I have my mockup list from here. Most of these mockup are available in our mockup community in Telegram. We have a mockup community where we have all of this mockup available. But I'm going to make this for free for everybody, not for only premium users. So this is the mockup, business card mockup I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to delete this, my brand name, delete this and delete this for the client. Now let's head into prepare the back. So for the back mockup, double click on this area. Once you have the mockup, double click on the mockup. Once you double click on the mockup, you're going to see something like this. You see place, you see something like this, place BC business card front. This is actually the back. So double click on these elements. This icon here is called the smart elements. Okay, the smart object, click on it. When you click on the smart elements, it's going to pull you into the particular area where we are going to place our logo. So now our card. So now we are done with that. We are going to place the back of the card right here. Once you place the back of the card, you can extend this one. Now watch what happens. When we extend to the edge, you see we have this bleeding space over here. So now this is where we extend this one from here and extend this one from here. And as you can see, this is the accurate bleeding size that is going to come out with your card. Okay, we don't need this second one. Okay, this is the accurate size that is going to come with your card. So once you try to do this mockup and your card contents are overlapping or getting to a space where you don't want it to, what you need to do is go back to your design and adjust the text. So this is the appropriate size for this is what we call the safe zone. Okay, so now what you need to do once you place the elements to the particular aspects you want, click on Ctrl and S to save to the front of that particular mockup. Ctrl S. So what you do, you see we have our first business card from here. Then we go to the back one. We do the same thing. Double click on that. Then we place our back card. That one will be the front card now. Okay. We extend this one. We extend this one. Adjust this so we can see what we are doing. We extend this one here and we extend this one here. Fine. Let's extend this a little more. We are good. Drop this down a little. Fine. So now we are done. Click on Control and save and we are good to go. We have the front and we have the back of the card. Next, we have to work with the background. As you can see, the background we used for the previous card, we are going to change it so that it's going to match with the background we have from here. So select on the BG from here, double click on this area. We are not going to see that smart object from here. Just double click on this empty area. And from here, we're going to select on the gradient area. We want to set a gradient style. We can select a gradient or cancel not to use a gradient. You can just use a color overlay. Select on this. Then pick on one of the color we have available from there. Let's just choose a darker one. Okay, I think this is cool. We can also pick green. Will green make more sense? I think the red makes a little more sense than the green. Fine. Okay, let's go with this. So we have red and we have the white. Okay, so this is just cool. Okay, once you're done, click on Control Alternate and save. S is for save. Select on element, save it as JPG, and we'll save your work. This is actually the one you're going to send to your client to show them this is how your card is going to look in real life. So when you send this to the client can say, okay, this is the corrections I'm going to make. You are not going to send the client this thing for them to make review or revision. Don't send them. This will look very ugly to them. Until they make the real card, they are not going to enjoy how it feels. So to show them how the work feels, you're going to make a mock-up of the work to show them how it's going to look like in real life. And by the way, this is the real one of this card. As you can see from the screen, this is the real one of this card, and see how beautiful it is after printing. And you can make something like this. It's not very difficult. Most importantly, keep your design very simple. Don't go too much of trying to be too busy with what you are doing. Keep your design very, very simple. Okay, that's the most important aspect of this tutorial. So in this particular tutorial, we learned the best practice for sizing, where we learned to convert millimeters to pixels, and we also learned the scaling and the bleeding and all of that. We prepared the contact details for the client. We make ready the logo. We created our card Canva, which is the two Canva we first created with the sizes that we calculated from the millimeter to pixel. We converted the sizes from millimeter to pixels. Then the designing for print ready, we designed and we did our print ready. We exported it for clients and also show you guys how to actually export to clients for printers. Then we did the final one, which is the mock-up, which you just finished from here. You're going to get the link to the mock-up, this mock-up. You're going to get the link in the description of this video below. And once again, my name is Mockup from Kata Studios. I hope you enjoyed this. You can try out preparing your own business card design. And if you're looking for a place to submit your business card design, you can do that in our community on Facebook at academy.katastudios. Once again, my name is Manuel from Kata Studios. Do have a wonderful day.